Hey peeps! I'm continuing my story about my toxic mother-in-law. So after my interaction with her on the 4th of July, I felt very upset and frustrated that she had responded the way she did. I didn't recognize till later that what I was doing with her was I was setting a boundary. And I was being vulnerable with her and expressing my feelings. And she straight up said no to the boundary and stomped on my feelings. Like, who cares about how you feel, basically. And on top of that, she had the gall to think she could tell me how I should parent my children when her own children have such issues from her parenting. It was just like, you think I'm gonna take advice from you? You're crazy. So I, having not grown up with a toxic mother-in-law carrying all that generational trauma, I just did not understand and could not make sense of anything. And so I called my mom and I vented to her. And she told me about this book called Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. Highly recommend this book. Just like, it was instrumental in her breaking the generational trauma from her parents. Highly recommend this book if you have toxic family members, if you just want to understand them, where they're coming from, why they behave the way they do. If you have toxic coworkers, if you just want to be able to see the signs and pick them out. Especially relationships, because people who have grown up in these type of relationships, that's all they know, and so they often end up in like married relationships like this, and the abuse continues. So after the whole blow up at the dinner a year later, where Bryson's parents were dissing trans people's feelings, he cut off all communication with them, where I still kept my door open in hopes that eventually we could come to some reconciliation. I was trying to bridge the gap, keep communication open, because it's only with communication that severed bonds can be mended. Occasionally I would take the kids and we'd go to family gatherings. I was a go-between if his parents wanted to tell him anything. His siblings still had, all access to talk to him, but his parents no longer did. We had not communicated to his siblings our side of things. Like, we talked to Bryson's sister a little bit, but we were trying not to involve them in the dispute. But I doubt that his mom was. I'm sure she was venting to all of them about her side of things. So January comes along, and his family has this tradition of getting together after New Year's and playing games and winning prizes and stuff like that. But it's like a adults only type of party. And I did not feel comfortable not having my kids there as a buffer. And Bryson's like, okay, I think I could have a surface level relationship with them if we set some boundaries. So I get his parents on the phone and I tell him, okay, Bryson is willing to have a surface level relationship with you if we can, and he's going to come to the party if we can set up these boundaries. And first off, his mom's like, you don't set boundaries with family. Yeah, this is not a good start to this conversation. All relationships have boundaries, Mom. And as I'm describing, how we're doing this, she's like, you don't need to put a label on things. Like, wow. Anyway, I tell her the first boundary is that we want her to not be telling our kids that they're not allowed to cry at her house? And her response is, you're not the perfect parent. And this is how gaslighting works, is divert, distract, like side quest, off the beaten path, like distract till you just forgot what you were even talking about, and you drop the topic, drop the issue that you're trying to focus on with them and address. And my response is, I never said I was. Another aspect of gaslighting is to discredit. Her saying that was her trying to discredit me, that I'm not the perfect parent. Then anything I say about her, about referring to my children, is discredited and doesn't mean anything. Which didn't work, obviously. Addressing our second boundary, I said, you are not to talk to Bryson about his weight. She specifically. Bryson's dad can, Bryson's siblings can. She specifically is not allowed to talk to him about her weight. I did not tell her why. She did not ask why. I wasn't out to hurt her feelings because, anyway, trying to, be charitable and stuff. And her response is, people have been asking me about his weight. And that was her justification for she should be able to continue to ask about it and know about it. Make up these like imaginary people behind her that back her up. And this isn't the first time she's used this tactic. I ask her, who? Give me names. Who is it that's asking you to ask Bryson about his weight? And she won't tell me. She won't give me names. So I tell her she's allowed to ask me how he's doing. Anybody else is allowed to ask me, is allowed to ask him. She has to go through me. Because she can't do it without being hurtful and making him feel like dirt. I tell her, okay, yes or no, Mom? Yes or no? Do you agree to these terms? And she keeps trying to, distract, go down other rabbit holes. And finally, Bryson's dad says, yes, we accept, yes. And we hang up and end the conversation. Now, for me, that's not good enough. I need her to say yes. So, obviously, we did not go to this party. And, yeah, that was just a mess. I attend family gatherings even less at that point. I'm done not involving his siblings now because I can tell she's obviously been talking to them about it. So why should I cut them out, leave them alone, if she's not? And I have every right to find out who's been going to her for this information about Bryson and to speak up for our side of the story. Any normal person that had emotional maturity would have responded to that conversation with very realistic boundaries and said, yes, I will accept these boundaries because I value my relationship with you. And obviously she didn't enough to accept those boundaries.